During the Elimination Chamber Perth event, Cody Rhodes challenged The Rock to go one-on-one before Seth Rollins reminded him that it's never that easy when it comes to the bloodline. Many have seen this as the tease of a tag team match at WrestleMania, and it's been rumored that Rhodes and Rollins vs. Rock and Roman Reigns will headline night 1 of the event. When Ringside News asked for clarity about the WrestleMania plans, a WWE creative team member confirmed that is one idea, but added that there are dozens of pitches about The Rock. The Rock is scheduled to appear on this week's SmackDown, and fans are eagerly awaiting his answer to Cody's challenge, which should give a clue as to what plan WWE is going with. But what do you think The Rock should do at WrestleMania? Is this tag match the right idea, or do you think there's something better? Let us know in the comments section below. It's been just over a month since Dwayne Johnson joined TKO's board of directors, a move that gave him full ownership of the Rock name, but that's not all he received. In a TKO filing, it's revealed that several Rock-affiliated terms are now under the ownership of the Great One, including his pre-Rock name, Rocky Maivia. Nicknames like the Great One and the Brahma Bull now belong to The Rock, as do catchphrases like It Doesn't Matter and If You Smell What The Rock Is Cooking. Now The Rock can use these terms and many more without getting approval from WWE, in another sign of the Brahma Bull's newfound closeness with the wrestling company. As we said, The Rock will be on this Friday's SmackDown, but whatever role he has, it may be interrupted by none other than Seth Rollins. Despite being a Raw superstar and top name of the Red brand, PW Insider reports that Rollins has been booked for tomorrow's show in an unspecified role. Drew McIntyre, Rollins' WrestleMania opponent, has been booked for the show's dark main event, so things may get tense tomorrow for what'll be a loaded evening of WWE content. Over to Dynamite as Hangman Page opened the show by walking to the ring with a crutch and told fans that he couldn't compete at this Sunday's Revolution. This brought out Swerve Strickland with Prince Nana, and Swerve said he respects what Page has done for AEW, but it's now his time to be the champion. This brought out Samoa Joe, and the AEW World Champion fired off at his Revolution opponents, but Swerve had a dig of his own, which made reference to WWE. He said that Joe may go back to working as an announcer in a poncho after Revolution, a nod to Joe's time at WrestleMania 37, which was delayed due to heavy rain. As Swerve yelled at Joe, Page attacked him with the crutch and revealed that he was not injured at all, and this ruse was done well, but there were some signs it wasn't real. Page was convincing on an emotional level, but some fans noted online that a doctor would have told him to use his crutch on the other side if he were actually hurt. Nevertheless, this was a fun opening that built nicely towards this weekend's show that'll feature 3 of the very best AEW has to offer. This week's Dynamite marked the final Dynamite for Sting as an active wrestler, so it's fitting that the Icon did something very special during the show. The entire night, the Young Bucks were on the hunt for the Hall of Famer, as they wanted to make sure he would not make it to Revolution, but just couldn't find the Icon. Darby Allin would blindside the Bucks, but he was overpowered, as was Ric Flair, before Sting's music played and the Bucks waited for his entrance by the ramp. Instead, Sting rappelled down from the rafters in vintage WCW style and attacked the Bucks with his iconic black bat and earned a huge response from the fans. This would be an iconic end to Sting's last Dynamite appearance before his retirement, but this now proves that he will not be holding anything back at Revolution. At a recent WWE live event, Maxxine Dupri, in what was only the 11th match of her entire wrestling career, she came up short against Nia Jax. As she was making her way to the back, a fan booed Dupri without mercy and seemed furious that she'd been wrestling, which has sparked a debate over this reaction. While that fan is entitled to their opinion, many have argued that the response was unnecessary and cruel given Dupri's limited in-ring experience and her clear desire to improve. Now, other women on the roster have weighed in, with Rhea Ripley saying she wishes that some fans got booed and ridiculed in the public eye while being new at their job. Ripley added that learning and getting better, something that Dupri is clearly aiming for, is part of being human, something that Rhea feels the fan in question should be better at. Zelina Vega described the video of the fans' rants as absolutely horrific and spoke about how hard Dupri works, and said that the fan is probably mad that they can't drink her bathwater. Maxxine Dupri is no Shawn Michaels, but at 11 matches we doubt Shawn was the show-stopping talent he'd later become, as everyone has to start from somewhere. But what do you make of this situation? Did the fans' rant at Dupri go too far, or is it all fair from somebody who paid to be at the show? Share your take down below. On this week's NXT, Shawn Spears was revealed as the man behind the Three Faces vignettes, but on that same show, a new vignette aired, teasing somebody else coming to the gold brand. An image of a beach with the words "See you soon" written in the sand was displayed, leaving fans to speculate that this could be the return of Sol Ruca. Ruca suffered a torn ACL back in April of last year, but recently resurfaced at an NXT live event, so it certainly makes sense that this vignette could be for her. The potential return of Ruca could prove to be a game changer for NXT in the near future, as she has charisma and skills in the ring, and we'll just have to keep tuned in to find out. Back to Dynamite, which saw Skye Blue pick up a win over Kris Statlander thanks to interference from Julia Hart, but it was what happened outside the ring that has caught attention. Statlander lifted Blue with a military press at one point and threw her over the barricade, and the 24-year-old star crashed into fans in attendance. A user on Twitter shared a photograph of the awkward moment between Skye Blue and an audience member on whom she landed, who certainly had a unique time at the wrestling show. We've got some sad news to report now, as former WWE superstar Mike Jones, better known as Virgil, has passed away at the age of 61. The news was shared by referee and family friend Mark Charles, who said Jones passed away peacefully in the hospital, and tributes have been pouring in for him. Wrestlers have been sharing their tributes to Virgil, and in a statement, WWE said they were sad to learn of his passing and extended their condolences to his friends, family, and fans. After his time in WWE, Jones would become Vincent as part of WCW, and let us know in the comments below your favorite moments from the career of the late Virgil. It was only a few days ago that Ole Anderson, a founding member of the Four Horsemen, passed away in another devastating loss to our wrestling community. Few people in wrestling knew Ole better than Arn Anderson, and while the pair weren't actually related, that didn't stop them from forming a deep friendship. In a statement, Arn spoke about how Ole was brutally honest when it came to life and wrestling, and called teaming with Ole the rub of a lifetime. Arn added that Ole was a mentor to him without meaning to be, and that he will teach his son some of the Oleisms that he learned from his tag team partner. Anderson also shared his best to Ole's family and those that loved him, as it's clear that Ole Anderson touched a lot of lives before his ended this week. Now, it's no secret that Sheamus' contract with WWE is set to expire this year, and with the Great White still missing from TV, fans have been left to wonder about his future. In a series of tweets this week, Sheamus said hi and bye, and that was enough to get the fans speculating that he's saying bye to WWE. In the comments, several fans spoke about the possibility of Sheamus joining AEW, which is home to the man Sheamus last wrestled, Adam Copeland. Whether Sheamus is all elite or not, he'll continue to keep fans guessing about his next move. And what do you think is to come for the former world champion? During his time on WWE's main roster, Matt Riddle was subject to start-stop pushes, and when he failed a drug test in 2022, he was pulled from WWE programming for months. Even when he came back, Riddle was never treated as the potential main eventer he once was suggested to be, and now we know more about his multiple failed tests. During an interview with the MMA Hour, Riddle discussed his drug test failures in WWE and explained that, contrary to what some may think, it wasn't weed that sunk his chances. He said, "They didn't make any of the offenses public. They wanted to keep it on the hush-hush, and they punished me by fining me. I went to the strip club and I did some cocaine a couple of times, and I failed the drug test. Well, that was for all of them. It was cocaine each time." Riddle then discussed being fired from WWE, saying he wasn't surprised he got cut, especially after he wasn't on the WrestleMania 39 card. Acting a fool, as Riddle put it, didn't help his chances either, and said that the day he got fired, it was one big relief after spending months waiting for the final nail in his WWE coffin. Riddle was also relieved that he would now have more time off, stating that he hadn't taken a single vacation during his WWE run, and the most time off he had was due to his time in rehab. Matt Riddle has bounced back nicely from his WWE release, as he's since appeared for New Japan and MLW, and is the reigning New Japan World Television Champion. At tonight's MLW Intimidation Games event, Riddle will defend his gold against Big Bad Tito, and what do you make of his release from WWE? Let us know in the comments. Earlier this month, Maryse shared the news that she'd been diagnosed with a rare precancerous condition affecting her ovaries, and that she had undergone laparoscopic surgery. In an update, the former Divas champion said that she'd been able to walk 30 to 40 minutes a day, in a massive improvement from a few weeks ago, and her next surgery will be in 2 weeks. After that, it'll be another 2 weeks of bed rest for Maryse, and we're wishing her, her husband, and their family all the best as they face this situation head on. Now next month will mark 2 years since Big E suffered his neck injury, and while at the time it was felt he'd be back relatively soon, that hasn't been the case at all. Without Big E, Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods have continued to appear on TV, but it's hard to ignore the fact that the New Day is only 2/3 of what it once was. While speaking with What Culture Wrestling, Big E revealed that he suggested adding a fill-in third member to their team to Kofi and Xavier, but both declined the offer. Kofi and Woods' reasoning is that the New Day is the group, and adding a third member simply to fill in for Big E wouldn't be fair to him or to his would-be replacement either. Big E has said that he is okay if his wrestling career is over, and has previously stated that a role as a scout, a coach, or as a commentator may be in his future if that's the case. The New Day is one of WWE's greatest stables, but what do you make of Big E's pitch? Should the group have brought on a new member? Let us know down below. For the past month or so, the wrestling world has been divided as to what is the right opponent for Roman Reigns at WrestleMania, Cody Rhodes or The Rock. Despite WWE's initial plans to go with The Rock, the We Want Cody movement forced WWE to change course, but there are some superstars still pulling for the Brahma Bull. In a video session with Sony Sports Network, Becky Lynch underwent a series of this or that questions, and when asked between the two, she said she chooses the Brahma Bull. It's certainly interesting to see Lynch, a face, choose the Bloodline member over arguably the biggest face in wrestling, as Lynch herself knows what it's like to be overlooked for a bigger star. A sense of feeling overlooked in favor of Charlotte led to Becky's transformation into the Man in 2018, which has since defined her as one of the top women in wrestling. Thanks to fans, Cody Rhodes is getting his long-awaited rematch with Roman Reigns, but with The Rock promising to ruin plans, Cody will have a tough journey on the road to WrestleMania. Before her tragic passing in 2018, an affidavit from Ashley Massaro alleged that she had been drugged and sexually assaulted during a WWE tour of a U.S. military base in Kuwait. Massaro claims that Vince McMahon and WWE made her keep quiet to protect WWE's military relationship, but the pair would share a segment on screen that possibly connects to her claim. For those unfamiliar, the backstage segment saw Massaro spill coffee on McMahon, who indefinitely suspends her and yells at her while crying in a disturbing scene given the affidavit. On the Café de Renee podcast, Chris Masters recalled the segment, saying that it was an example of Vince using TV time to get revenge on Massaro and to be vindictive. When you look at the Janelle Grant thing, I think actually the more important thing here is the Ashley Massaro thing, because to me, the Ashley thing has been very eye-opening. To me, the Ashley thing has proven that Vince McMahon does use his TV time for revenge to be vindictive for some of his, maybe fetish-type behavior. And so all these times that we can trace back in history to thinking in the past, you could always see maybe that was just coincidental, or, oh yeah, the timing was weird on that. All of those seem to me that they were done with intent. Masters' belief is that McMahon used segments and TV time to retaliate against superstars he was unhappy with, and believes Vince was unhappy that Ashley could potentially speak out. WWE claimed for years that they didn't know of the alleged assault, though John Laurinaitis has since said they did, and it remains to be seen what could come out next about the late diva. In a trios match, Eddie Kingston teamed with FTR to face Bryan Danielson, Claudio Castagnoli, and Jon Moxley on AEW Dynamite. Kingston got the biggest individual pop, but it's hard to compete with how loud the crowd gets during Wild Thing, and it was Kingston and Danielson who started for their teams. Danielson quickly tagged out to Castagnoli to taunt Kingston, and this was a high-energy match with a consistent pace, strikes, and good brawling moments. All 6 men are renowned for different reasons, so it's no surprise that they all worked well, especially since many of them have history, with Kingston having feuded with all 3 opponents. Everyone worked their butts off to make sure the live crowd got a good show despite all 6 men being booked for the pay-per-view, and Danielson won by making Kingston pass out. Will Ospreay spoke about being done with other obligations and being all elite before Don Callis eventually came out with Will Hobbs and Konosuke Takeshita. Ospreay didn't seem too excited to see them and had a standoff with Takeshita, but it never turned into a fight before the next match between Nick Wayne and Orange Cassidy. With the international title on the line, the challenger was aggressive from the start before Cassidy took him down with a headlock, and Mama Wayne got the patriarchy thrown out. As soon as Cassidy won, Roderick Strong attacked him out of nowhere, with the Best Friends and Undisputed Kingdom also getting involved, adding some sizzle to this Sunday's match. Chris Jericho brought back his Lionheart persona to face Atlantis Jr. as one of Jericho's mentors and partners, Atlantis Sr., watched on at ringside. The match started with Atlantis slapping him instead of shaking his hand. He immediately had the upper hand and hit several moves on Lionheart before Jericho could regroup. Jericho went for the walls of Jericho, but they were too close to the ropes, and in a strange spot, Jericho tried to take off Atlantis Jr.'s mask. We've seen heels do this sort of spot countless times before, but given Jericho asked for this match out of respect, it was strange to see such a dirty trick. You could see Atlantis moving slower than usual in some spots to compensate for Jericho no longer being a young luchador, but they had decent chemistry, so it wasn't a bad match. Jericho won by submission with a lion tamer when Senior threw in the towel for Junior. They all posed together after the match. When Jinder Mahal innocuously asked about the star rating for his 2012 NXT title match with Seth Rollins, this comment sparked the fury of Tony Khan, who didn't hold back on social media. In a series of posts last month, Khan was livid over Mahal being booked into a World Heavyweight title match, believing that Jinder shouldn't have had the spot given his win-loss record. Khan didn't take kindly to fans pointing out examples of AEW talent who have been thrust into title pictures after lengthy breaks from TV, and now Mahal has weighed in on the AEW president. Sitting down with the Gorilla Position podcast, Mahal was asked about Khan's outburst earlier this year and said the AEW president must have forgotten some key pieces of information. I think Tony Khan is forgetting I'm the modern-day Maharaja, former WWE champion, and being a former WWE champion, I should be #1 contender anytime I want. The Royal Rumble happened a week after that. If you notice, I wasn't in it because I didn't feel there was a need. The modern-day Maharaja wants a title match. He can just get one. It's okay. Overall, it's great. It caused a lot of buzz, and I appreciate the competition because it makes everybody better. While fans, for the most part, agreed that Mahal didn't deserve the title shot, Khan's outburst was seen as bad as it was the boss of a wrestling company attacking a wrestler in a clash of hierarchies. Mahal lost the match, but Seth Rollins hasn't competed since due to an injury, and we have to wonder if Khan will have something to say about Mahal's most recent comments. In late 2023, QT Marshall left AEW with the belief that he'd never be a big star in the company, but despite this, Marshall has returned to the promotion in a backstage role. Marshall has said that he'll remain behind the scenes in this second AEW run, in spite of his desire to wrestle, and on Twitter, gave a blunt reason for why he won't wrestle in AEW. I'm not wrestling in AEW. The fans didn't like me out there, so I'm going to wrestle everywhere else. I'm a man of the people. Instead of wrestling, Marshall will be a coach and producer for AEW, but will still wrestle outside the company, and we imagine he'll prove to be quite the asset behind the camera.